What's up? Good morning. And hello. Welcome to BaseTradeTV. My camera's off a little bit. Let me fix that. Whoop. Surprise! It's the WCS Montreal Qualifiers. We didn't cast the other ones, even though we had the good intentions to do so, but today we found some free time and availability to do such a thing. How are you today, Zombie Grub? Nope, hang on, I've got the wrong thing unmuted. Okay, go again.
Okay, so I should be using Skype?
Yeah, bueno.
Okay, cool. I'm alright. How are you?
I could be so much better, but I can't talk about it. If you guys have paid attention to my tweets, you know what I'm referring to, however. Anyways, for today's matches, we don't actually have like a really long show in store for you here. We're limited on what we can cast, but it looks like we'll get maybe 3 or 4 matches by the sounds of things. And the first one of the day is going to be Snute versus MaNa in a best of 5. Yeah,
there's a couple of good matches, but the mainstream went to Laser DNS and Euthermal Hero Marine. I mean, Euthermal Hero Marine actually sounds kind of appealing to me. TBT, Hero Marine's been like making his way back and actually looking really impressive sometimes.
Oh yeah, when he came out to play for the Corsair Cup, dude, he floored all the other kids.
Yeah, including a couple Koreans. But Laser DNS I thought was an interesting choice for them. I really thought they'd take Stefano or MaNa Snute, you know, but I'm not going to complain. I think MaNa Snute's fun and it's another team kill.
Quick shouts to Hard Revenge for this phenomenal photo of how the dinosaurs really went extinct. I appreciate it, dude. I'm not sure why I woke up with a desire to be a flat earther today, or excuse me, flat tarsonuser today, but it's happening. It's a thing. Deal with it.
Okay, I guess.
Also, I guess not that he's here right now. Loco resubbed or new subbed. I know he's been subbed us before for replays, but I guess threw that sub button down again after letting it break. So thank you, Loco, a couple hours ago.
Appreciated.
Nice. I do have almost all the map intros ready to go, guys. I'm still missing Odyssey and Ascension to Ire because I can't find good music for them. But even the Mimi versions of everything we got, I've got loaded up. The audio should be tuned, because last time we did this, everyone was complaining it was too loud. And the Acolyte one is still way too long, but frankly, I don't give a fuck. We're just going to play them out today to have some fun with it, because it's going to be a shorter cast anyways.
Yeah, it should be. The winner's bracket is going to be cast mostly by the mainstream, and those are best of 5s. And it's only going up to the round of... Well, it's... The last cast match will be a round of 8 match.
Who the heck?
So.
I'll be... Sorry, 1 sec.
All right.
Hello?
Hi. I assume it's a phone call. MaNa and Snute are both ready to go and in the lobby, so we'll get started as soon as he's done.
English.
Apparently a robot called him.
No, English.
I've actually thought those things are getting a lot better. The automated, like, stuff, but I recently had a call and it wasn't any better.
Yes, I'm aware I'm not muted. Shit. Okay, 1 sec, guys. Yes.
It's more I'm like unsure if I should continue talking.
Yes! No, yes!
I said no.
How much of this is coming through, by the way?
Oh my god, all of it. Are you kidding me?
It's so loud, right? Like... All right, fuck it. I'm dealing with this later. I have a very important package I've been waiting on, and apparently I have to pay $30 in duties and taxes. God damn it.
Ugh.
At some point when, like, I gotta be real. If a company ever wants me to use their fucking product, I don't care if it's headsets, shoes, you name it, you're paying the duties and taxes for me. Like, I shouldn't have to pay $30 and then get reimbursed later. Just pay it beforehand on your end. I live in Canada. Can we just accept that already? I'm sorry. Hello. I'm ready to go.
There has to be something bad about living in Canada, you know?
Like,
you don't have to deal with everything we're
America's
dealing
got
with.
Trump. I've got duties and taxes. You know, it's...
Yeah. I mean, it makes a lot of sense. Anyways.
I'm not gonna drunk. Oh, on the hot
I wasn't sure if I was
10,
like gonna.
baby.
I was supposed to talk because then you were just yelling every time I tried. Yes.
Yeah, I didn't realize it was about halfway through. I realized I wasn't muted because you could hear me interrupting you, and I'm sorry about that. And I'm sorry to the streamer had to hear that too. That was.
It was just funny.
Well, it's like it's that dumb thing where it's like, would you like to continue? Say yes or press 1, and I'm like yes, and they're like, sorry, we didn't get that. Would you like to continue? I'm like, yes! Like, ah! Okay, deep breaths, everybody. We're ready to rock and roll for the WCS Montreal Qualifiers. Spawning here in the bottom right, in this best of 5, we've got the blue Protoss Team Liquid's MaNa.
In the top left has the red Zerg. It is Liquid Snute. I have been cursed with the default overlay.
Riggedy rigged.
Yeah, I downloaded the most updated version of GameHeart because I recently swapped to a 10-keyless keyboard, so I needed the new hotkey for income graph, and I keep forgetting every time I switch servers. So.
Feels bad, man. By the way, big thank you to Laser SEQ starting off the broadcast today with a $10 throw into that jar, saying some SC2 support to kick off the day. Flies away.
Thank you.
Dude, Laser SEQ always writes that message. And I gotta ask, Laser, I don't know if you're a fan of anime or not, but... Oh, game sounds aren't on. Whoops. Do you know about panty stocking and garter belts? Because they have a song called Fly Away, which might just be your theme song.
I only know what that is because you mentioned it. Must be years ago now. But I recognize that as an anime and not just a wild string of words. Nailed it.
I guess
what it sounded like originally.
I was gonna say, I guess, yeah, you're just listing literally 3 things, like panty, stocking, and garter belt. Like,
yeah, it just sounds like you're obsessed with underwear.
I mean, let's be honest, who isn't?
You
wear it every day, don't you?
I mean, that's true. You got me there. That's truly an obsession.
And I mean,
probably be very hard to break, you know, that habit.
Let's be real. What is one of the most classic questions since childhood? What are you eating under there?
What? Why? I'm not on board with this. What is this? Is this a meme? Is this a reference? Like, you did it last night too, and I didn't know what you're talking about. Wait,
did you never? It's like the kid school, like, oh, if your hand's bigger than your face, you get cancer. Like, it's just like a dumb thing for being a kid, you know? You'd be like, what are you eating under there? And people would be like, underwear. Ah, you said underwear. I'm a 5-year-old kid. Like,
you know, I never really got that one. I got a lot of like, what's up, chicken butt, and it's up your butt and around the corner.
Up your butt and around the corner was another classic kid thing to say.
Yeah, I got those ones. I don't remember this underwear one.
Well,
I missed that one.
You know, it's a WCS cast.
Yeah.
So the depth out of MaNa doesn't actually go through, funny enough. I guess we should talk about this too a little bit. I mean, we presume and assume everyone knows about the rivalry between MaNa and Snute, and frankly, any Team Liquid player when it comes to these tournaments. And the thing is, like, MaNa always seems to get the crap end of the deal. I don't know. Like, he's a really good player. Sometimes you watch him play phenomenal games and still lose, and it's like heartbreaking if you're a MaNa fan. But at the same time, Snute has not been super performing the way he has in the past. He's been dodging a lot of online cups, and he's been focusing a lot on the WCS events. So I don't know where that puts him in his playstyle right now. I just know that MaNa is not my favorite player in the matchup, but I do cheer for him nonetheless.
Well, I mean, it was Ting Season 1, right, where MaNa ended up hard countering Snute as Snute.
That is true, actually. You're right. We had a little interview about it, too.
I can't even remember that I remember that. But, yeah, you just said that I wasn't good against Zerg, I was good against Snute. So, certainly the fact that they are team members and on like a very close-knit team like Team Liquid does contribute to this matchup as people, you know, person versus person. But I'm with you. Like, I think MaNa is still an inconsistent player, and his brilliance oftentimes like shines when he's already dead. So like, you know, a little bit too late. So I'm kind of giving this to Snute, but I'm also like, Snute's a little bit shaky too. We're really going to see what he's been training for. Obviously, they got here to the round of 16, the day 3, I think it is. And we're automatically set up against each other to team kill after that. But it is double elimination, so to say it's a real team kill is a little bit wrong.
Well, it'll be one of many kills, I guess you could call it. But anyways, it's Archon drops out of MaNa. He's not going to be mucking around with the DTs, and that's fine. Snute was ready for this with Spore Crawlers anyways. Multiple Queens, several Roaches. I mean, you talk about MaNa kind of hard countering Snute, and this time it kind of feels like Snute knows exactly what he had to deal with. He knew what was coming out of MaNa. And the thing is, like, it's a really classical move. It's not cheesy, it's not ridiculous, and it's something that, because MaNa controls well, usually does quite well, even if you see it coming. But these Archons have already been pretty much hard stopped in their tracks.
Right. MaNa is doing the classical Archon drop too. There's no second Warp Prism, there's no reinforcing Archons like 2-3 more, although maybe I spoke too soon. But it's not a lot of aggression.
Oh, I like this actually.
He's hoping to catch the 4th base or maybe a couple of units out of position.
Well, I think ideally what he's going to do is have all the Roaches and Queens come bait northwards towards the Archons, and then the 1 DT goes in and kills a lot of drones, right?
It would be a good move.
It could just be to deny the base too, yeah.
Yeah. Usually Zerg is expanding vertically on this map. Okay, so the mild harassment as well as scouting, you know, it is important to note that Snute defended this with Roaches, where a lot of people are just, of course, still going for that fast +1 and dealing with it only with Lings. I think the Ling solution is the one that's going to get punished by those attacks I was talking about. The reinforcing, you know, Zealots, more Archons, double Warp Prism. But oddly enough, because he went Roaches, double Warp Prism will probably get like more opportunities for damage because Roaches are so slow right now. Because Roach speed's only halfway done. But it's not that. He went to pretty hard macro back at home and is only now getting charge and +1 and his Mothership Core. Wasn't too worried about early game defense.
He's already getting ahead. He knows what's coming. He's like, I gotta learn to play without the Mothership Core. Yeah.
Man, I was with how big the changes sounded like on paper when you read them out loud. Like I didn't actually think they felt that different. The Nexus certainly is. Of course, talking about the recent multiplayer big change. You guys can actually test it if you want to, but I didn't actually think it like felt too different. I had a lot more fun the last time there was a big rollout because I was like playing mech all the time because that's, you know, they're still trying to push mech a little bit, but not as hard. Like, I tried ghost rushing someone, and this poor guy didn't realize that ghosts aren't light and do well against mutas and banelings. So that felt pretty good.
Yeah, that was the weird thing for me too. I remember, I think it was like casting / playing the game for like 3 years, going like, wait, ghosts aren't light units? Same with banelings too. That was another weird. That one didn't take me as long to figure out, but still, the one where you're like, wow, banelings aren't light units. WTF?
Yeah, exactly.
Banelings are garbage.
Yeah, you think Helen's gonna like blast them just like Lings? That's not true. Anyway, so Terran's here.
Can we list?
Is what?
Sorry, go on. You first.
Okay. That is. The DT doesn't get much done, and maybe it's gonna get taken out.
Yeah.
I mean, the 4th base wasn't taken where MaNa was hoping. In fact, it was taken not at the other 4th, I guess. It was taken on the middle base, which Snute's always been kind of, I think, one on the forefront of changing up how you expand. Like, he was one of the ones they saw went for the buried base off to the right or left on Abyssal. I think Ascension does have a lot of opportunity, like different expand pathways, but that's a lot of banelings.
I'm really worried about MaNa here. This feels like it's going to be a classical MaNa fight where MaNa's going to have storms and force fields, and they're going to be great, and he's going to play incredibly cost effectively, but still eventually be bullied down by Snute's macro behind this. In fact, he doesn't have that many storms holstered and ready, but he does have a couple. But the banelings walking through to the probe line. He's got to pull those probes away.
I was actually a lot more worried for the High Templar that almost got hit.
No.
I'm so worried for the High Templar.
Last second force fields, and the Archon breaks his force fields.
Okay, so he manages to save some, but you know, he still hasn't been able to actually lay down the storms. They've been retreating this entire time.
Yeah, he didn't want to use them on the banelings, and I could totally understand why when he thought force fields would deal with it, but MaNa is, you know, the fact that he lost the third is already devastating enough, but coupled with the fact that this is where the robo was, and a lot of sentries, and I just, oh boy, he's trying to counterattack, which is why we don't see any defenses at home, but it's just not getting the damage done.
No, I mean, that was, you know, ideally going to bring the army back for another 10 seconds. I don't think dealing any harassment after losing a third base is going to make up for that. You know, it would be different if he was already on a fourth base too, but that's not the case here. MaNa did just kind of lose by losing that third base, because he also lost so much of his army.
Well, the storms are still a brewing, I guess, but unfortunately, I just don't think... Even if you hit the storm now, what is there to finish off the units, right? The idea is, like, storm never kills anything. It usually just makes it very low. Just trying to save these Templar with force fields. Good micro so far in some of them, but this is still, I think, a lost cause.
Yeah. I mean, notably, Snute's not even running in with everything he has. He's got another attack to the south, and only now as the storms are gone.
Good game.
Does he run on it? GG.
Alright, I'm going to take the 10 to Alt F4 and restart StarCraft to see if that keeps the middle mouse button fixed or not. But I was going to say, sorry, back when we were talking about the silly stuff. Banelings, I wonder if there's like a category somewhere that exists called like fragile. Like don't touch these, they're going to literally explode if you do.
They're literally in a box. Fragile.
Fragile.
Yeah. And sometimes I get friend requests, and I'm like, are you someone that I want to be friends with, but your name is different when you friend request me? I hate that.
See, I'm lucky. My friends list is actually just straight up full unbugged. So, like, I can see people add me, but if I hit accept, it just doesn't add them. Like,
well, I'd love to add people that I'm actually going to be joining lobbies off of, or they're going to be joining my lobbies, but I don't know who they are because their friends list invite name is different than their actual, like, name, right? It'll change.
Sorry, Hard Revenge is hitting me up with some more flat earth facts that I didn't know about Zombie Grove. This is great. Scientists claim that the Earth is, Tersonis is a spherical and rotating at a speed of 700 to 1,000 miles per hour, depending on your latitude. This can be a very high rate of speed. You can disprove this nonsense by simply jumping up as high as you can. What happens when you jump? You come straight down to where you were. But if the Earth were indeed spinning at such a fast speed, wouldn't you land hundreds of feet away? Whoa! Too real? Oh, why are we abandoning the lobby? What happened here?
Wrong map.
Oh, feels bad, man.
I didn't make it. Don't blame me.
I was ready to rock that intro.
Well, it was an Acolyte, one of the long intros.
Oh, are we doing Acolyte?
Yeah, we were on Abyssal.
Okay, well then I guess I'll start playing the intro now then, because it's so freaking long. We'll see you guys in game.
No.
Started early, finished late. Nailed it! Welcome back. We're in game number 2. Spawning here in the upper right side, we got the blue Protoss, Team Liquid's MaNa.
In the bottom left, as the red Zerg, it's Liquid Snute.
And he's up 1 right now in this best of 5.
That's right. Unfortunately, you know, not to be harsh, but it seemed like a pretty easy game for him. He kind of just macroed up and then rolled into MaNa.
So here's the thing, though, I find about Snute, and I'd love to know your thoughts on this. I feel like it doesn't matter who the opponent is. It could be MaNa, it could be Classic. As long as Snute gets to this point where he's comfortably on 4 bases, and he's on like 70 plus drones, that's exactly where he wants to be, and I feel like can take on any player.
No, I think that kind of sums up Snute, and no one can really disagree. He's a macro guy. That's what he's known for. That's what he's good at. That's what he feels comfortable as, and that's what his, a lot of time his race plays the strengths to. So I don't think he's really taking into account. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like Snute has talked about this, where he has like sometimes just not thought about exactly who he's playing, just like because like where he talked about MaNa. Talked about how MaNa sometimes literally just plays to Snute and how Snute's going to play. But I feel like Snute's mentioned that he's more comfortable in a macro game. So like when he gets comfortable, that's when he gets into his rhythm. That's how like he wants to play, not necessarily playing specifically to an opponent. I don't remember where I heard that, but certainly while he knows people's habits and builds and styles, it feels like it is just him. He's worried more about defending, macroing, and then attacking than anything else. Whereas maybe MaNa is more worried about like, well, I gotta punish Snute because Snute does like to defend and macro, and I have to find a trickier way to do it because my attack last game didn't work. And
I feel like if MaNa actually went down the path of the double Warp Prism build, like he's going for a Stargate this game, but just taking back the last game for a moment, I think the double Warp Prism could have worked out well against what Snute did. Like Snute had little bits of queens pocketed here on base to base, but really the roaches were all consolidated at the Archons. You throw even just like 2 Zealots in the main while that goes on, they kill both the queens. They then threaten the mineral. It's like, I'm not saying like MaNa should have, but I think could have done cooler things with what his build still was. But this time around, with a Stargate, likely an Oracle, see if you can hurt Snute.
Talk about cool things. I wonder if he's been playing with Mass Oracle.
Ah, those kinds of cool things. Yeah. I'm not sure if MaNa's going to be too much of a fan of Mass Oracle or not. We'll find out, obviously, as the game progresses. But one thing for sure is, like, last game, Snute blindly had Spore Crawlers. I shouldn't say blindly. He had some decent scouting. But he had Spore Crawlers. He had, like, 2 queens per base. And Snute is a guy who typically has defenses early on. So MaNa's going to have a really hard time catching him off guard with an Oracle. That much is for certain.
Yeah. Opening Oracle, not going to get very much done, but as long as it scouts and protects him for this 3rd base, then that's all good, because really MaNa would actually, he can't go middle of the road, I feel, versus Snute, like he can't go safe, but a little bit of harassment, not too much pressure, not enough pressure, because that's where Snute is going to be looking for opportunities to get ahead, or perfectly defend, I guess, either way, but he has to either go really hard on the expansions, just as Snute does, so we see it like the earliest nexus you can really get as a Protoss player, or he has to go for an all-in, or I guess if he is going to go Mass Oracle, something tricky like Mass Oracle, but we already see the Twilight Council and Forge go down, so I guess that's not going to be it.
I was kind of hoping, just like maybe, just a little bit maybe he'd be willing to have done it, but not terrible that he's playing any other style, because Mass Oracle really... It either works so well and looks so broken that you want to nerf Protoss, or it looks so horrible and it looks so bad you want to nerf Zerg. Like,
I think against top Zergs too, there is more finesse than what people see when Mass Oracle surprises a person who doesn't know anything about it, because then that just looks like all oracles.
If that's the case, Snute would have lost out because he spawned bottom on this map.
Top Zergs. All right. Anyways. But I actually legitimately do not know how popular it is in Europe. I know we saw some apparently games in Shoutcraft with, I think it was like 1 or 2 Europeans, but I've been mostly seeing it from the Koreans, so I don't know what the ladder looks like.
I mean, we've seen it out of, or we talked about like trying to see it out of Goblin and like other people, and even then we didn't see it consistently out of the guy who's gone Mass Oracles in the past, so you're right, like it might not actually be all that popular hip on Europe right now. And to be honest, it's kind of interesting when you take those dynamics, because we've talked about it many times. European Zergs better than Korean Zergs, right? On average, I'm not saying top of the top beats the top of the top, but on average. So it might just simply be a case where Mass Oracle works on Korea because the Zergs aren't as good at dealing with it, but European Zergs are a different breed.
Yeah, Korean Zergs are like already trying to figure it out, like Rogue, for instance. But yeah, it is something that if the Protoss isn't practicing it, then the Zerg doesn't have to be practicing against it. So that might just be what's happening between these 2 guys. I don't know, it's a best of 5, so there will be some variety in strategy. At least I would hope so. Obviously already different from game 1 to game 2 here for both players, as Snute, you know, he's going for a Spire right now. He didn't go for a Roach defense either. He just went for Lings.
Jesus. Sorry, go on. My finger's bleeding apparently.
Oh, okay. Well, that's cool. He didn't go for Roaches, didn't have to, and he went for the melee upgrades, but the Spire edition is going to be pretty good on Acolyte. I mean, I think this is a CBT. You're always going to go for mutas. Like the hanging safe base, I'm going to call it, because describing it, you know, with so many words is really annoying. It hangs off the end, right? It's not protected by the other bases. That's when you send in War Prisms. That's when you send in Medivacs. That's when you send in mutas. And it's always going to be this annoying point to defend, even when you set up like 15 cannons over there. So I think it's an extra good choice on this map, but of course, Snute, always a guy that's been willing to add in a couple of mutas to help versus a War Prism.
Oh, speaking of that War Prism, it's already almost dead from 2 Hydras. Not a good start from MaNa, but the fact that it's still standing means more reinforcements are on the way. Picks up some of that Archon action too, and 3 of them plus a lot of Zealots will not be easy to stop. This is the kind of aggression that is just so dedicated and strong, it's going to kill a base.
Now, it is off of 10 gateways too, just aren't warp gates. He still has Storm researching behind it, so while that 4th base actually is a little bit of a trick, he didn't end up taking it despite having pylons around it. He does have defenses if this didn't work, you know, if he did have to retreat. And it looks like MaNa's not going to be too greedy about this. He grabs the 3rd base and gets out.
Ooh.
But you know what? Snute has a 4th as a gold, and MaNa doesn't know about that.
I also wonder if he would really get out. Snute looked like he was going to chase northwards and try and cut this off for the moment, but looks like only the War Prism's the one that retreated. The rest of the army stayed down here.
Yeah, maybe not a bad, like, use it to your advantage. Like, yeah, now he's going to leave the Zealots here as a run by. Oh, I should probably wait a little bit longer, though. Okay, well, yeah, maybe hiding the Zealots is okay. But he even gets the Archon out somehow. I guess that's going back to the 4th base, going home.
Well, still a pocket full of Zealots down here, but looks like they're about to get caught.
Oh,
Trading up for some Banelings wouldn't be too bad, but Snute's actually holstering those. Kind of a smart choice out of him.
Yeah. And again, I gotta like emphasize, at the end of the day, you know, MaNa still has this nice tech, and he managed to save at least 1 or 2 Archons. Oh my god, that's a lot of Storms. The 3rd base kill wasn't actually so detrimental to Snute. You know, he didn't really sacrifice a ton of army to defend against it, and he had that 4th base to move on to anyway.
Yeah, it wasn't quite devastating per se, but it is something where Snute, you know, that gold base is great for now. If MaNa can hold and defend for like another 10 minutes, the gold base is negligible, but never mind. A lot of Templar are already dead. Only a couple Archons remain. I think he might hold this attack, but it's the first attack of many.
I don't know, like the army supplies are still even, but I'm like wondering how.
I know, there's like nothing to show for it.
MaNa has a lot. I'm waiting for a bunch of Zealots to come in here or something like that, but it must just really be the leftover Archons and the Immortal. And honestly, like another round of Charge Lots would have cleaned up the rest of those Hydras, but instead he uses it on that very weak War Prism. You know, Snute not taking in that natural base. Okay, yeah, it's going to be a safe one later, but for now it's this big old open space where you just warped in without being seen.
Yeah, without contest. Now those Banelings going to finish up here in a second. These Zealots are should get cleaned up, I think. Yeah, easy peasy. This does draw Snute home, which is great. MaNa, unfortunately, though, doesn't really cause that much damage through this attack. And granted, it was him just trading out minerals, sure. And it did draw the army back home, which is great. But it didn't really buy him any leads. I guess it did kill a couple of drones, which was great. But again, with Snute relying on a gold base, he doesn't need that many drones right now. Where you would normally want to see like a 70 count, 60's totally fine.
Yeah, and he's already like on his way to replacing that gold base since it is starting to mine out here in the bottom right-hand corner. And this just, I mean, it's kind of disappointing really, because MaNa probably could have at least forced a retreat from that gold base along his warpath with the earlier attack, but he did go straight for the 3rd and then retreated. So yeah, I mean, he held his 4th base, so it's got to feel okay. But he did lose those High Templars, forced to morph into Archons. Expensive units to replace, and he has 5 again already, but I don't know about moving out. Of course, anytime you move out as a Protoss player, it just risks being entirely surrounded, but that War Prism, he knew where the army was defending against it, so he knew he could take out the gold.
This is really nice because Snute was getting a big boost off of his lower drone count from that gold. He did make more drones though, so it's totally acceptable to lose the base and now saturate this one. Like we said, 70 for 4. This is still where Snute wants to be. He's not in any immediate danger. I like what he did with the Mutalisks, by the way. I really thought he was going to commit more to these. Like, okay, send 8 or 10 across the map, but this does appear to just be like, look for the Warp Prism type of mutas, snipe off a Templar type of mutas.
Yeah, I know. I would still prefer 6 at the bare minimum, because 3 really can't even type a High Templar. Like, that's kind of sad amount of damage. But yeah, he's using it for his army, too. Maybe he'll find some better
the wraparound.
Or counter, run by, whatever we call it.
If Snute had collapsed on MaNa's army, I think that would have been really scary, but it's more dangerous to lose things like probes, so he does get to this base. I don't know if he'll be able to tear it down. If he does, he's not going to retreat, that's for sure. The army's already hot on his heels, and this is actually not going to work out for Snutes.
Right, like, he's the one that got surrounded here. He also gave up his Banelings for the probes, so Charge Lots also would have been able to clean that up pretty effectively. I mean, 16 probes are lost, but he's still on 4 Nexus. He's looking towards a 5th. He's got a bit of a bank. MaNa should replace those.
Of course, we got that transition to air coming up, and with fleet beacons and stargates, we know what this leads to.
Yeah. Well, MaNa, I thought that was a probe over there. It's actually a Phoenix scouting for another attack, so I guess maybe he's planning on taking his 5th to the right side. That's kind of where the game has gone, moved over to the right side with the gold base from Snute, and now his bottom right base. That's going to leave this area more vulnerable. Again, like, this isn't protected by anything else. Like, a main base with Spore Crawlers isn't protecting this base over here, so he's got to be on top of basically, yeah, catching War Prisms and Mutas. But whenever he moves to the left, it's trick of moving to the right. And usually this is something that Zerg is doing to the Protoss, right? But Protoss is doing a great job of doing it to Zerg.
Yeah, big catch here. The base was low from run-bys early on. Snute cancels everything he was building at this base, but yo, I love this move out of Snute. We got a Lurker Den coming in. I don't know if he's going to have time to get Lurkers out, but we've seen them be really effective in more recent days. And I mean, this is a lot of Immortals. This is a lot of Archons. Frankly, it's a very anti-Lurker army, but I think a couple of them here and there could actually greatly improve Snute's engagements.
They also happen to be great at base trades.
Yeah, which is what Snute is kind of gearing towards. He's not quite hit that marker yet, but he's killing the economic base here of MaNa. The natural base is being overrun as we speak. A lot of production is about to get wrecked. Robo goes down. Gateways are falling. I mean, MaNa should be able to clean it up, but it's going to cost him a lot to do so.
Yeah, but who is getting the benefit of this? You know, Snute didn't know this. Another case of not knowing about a base. Snute doesn't know about MaNa's 5th, so he'll be able to move his probe somewhere.
Snute lost 2 more bases while this went on.
Yeah. And where did he put his
force fields.
Oh, you put it in the end.
MaNa's gonna. It just saved him. It just saved him.
It certainly saved a lot of production. He would have had to chase up there. The Archons wouldn't be able to fit. You know, he had to kill his own gateway. That would have been really bad. I think MaNa takes a much better end of this trade. Usually a great idea for Zerg player to do this. Not here.
I think if MaNa did not have this base secretly finish up while this fight went on, he'd be dead in the water. But the fact that he just got that Nexus up, and he caused so much damage to... He took out the Spire. He took out upgrades. He denied all of these bases. Snute's on 1 base mining right now.
I think that he might have still been okay, but I think the 4th base or the 5th base, whatever, does ensure his victory. With now that he has, you know, real mining too, along with a much better army. I look at those force fields and I'm like, that might have saved it, because his army legitimately could not fit through that gate. Potential of a roach attack off of 3 bases without droning that 3rd base, but Snute is just really not that type of player. So it's kind of like an easy thing to assume that it's not going to happen. Plus, if you really are getting this long of a probe scout, I think with the Stargate follow-up, you would see the Oracle would see the roaches like at least coming, and you'd be able to prepare a little bit. But it's not roaches. It is just a macro game, and MaNa will be able to see that perfectly with the Oracle.
I expect nothing less of Snute. It's really for me on MaNa, like the emphasis on whether this will be a macro game or not. You know?
Yeah. Well, Snute, or rather, MaNa adds on 1 more gateway, and then looks towards the 3rd base, make sure there's not any Lings perhaps waiting to snipe it. The Lings going to the front, so joke's on Snute.
Yeah, good wall off setup. I guess while we're waiting for the game to pick up, couple quick shout outs to APOC428. Thank you for the 18 months of coming back to the channel. Same with Racer 2000. 9 months of awesomeness. Thank you guys both so much. I guess.
Oh, I saw the Oracle.
Yeah, coming down here, I mean, like, there's a spore crawler up, so it's limited on what it can do, but it's going to go for the stasis trap, which, I gotta say, like, Zerg are getting a lot better at pulling the drones away from, but you can't stop it from screwing with the larva. And I think what's got to be infuriating about this is if you can't use these larvae, and there's no inject running, you can't actually get more larvae either. Like, the idea is at least you get an egg going, so that the new larva spawns out of the hatchery, etc., etc. It's just like a real, it's like an anti-inject, really.
Yeah, kind of. And it is a good point. I mean, this is something where the Oracle could have danced and maybe gotten 2, even 3 drones with some really fancy footwork, but the stasis trap is going to last longer and, yeah, potentially really mess with the larva macro.
Well, this should be 1 queen kill.
Good.
A couple of drones spotted with this, too.
You know, Snute has really not had a lot of scouting. There was an assumption it would be a Stargate or a Dark Shrine drop, Dark Templar drop, because the Spore codes had come down perfectly timed. Seeing 2 Oracles is still not scary, and it seems that MaNa is not on board the mass Oracle shenanigans, but it is worth noting that Snute just not getting a lot of scouting and also not a lot of his own pressure, which usually he's totally fine with, but it's something where the third base is getting up, basically no problem for MaNa. Is going on to charge and +1, and I'm sure Snute is mostly thinking about not letting that attack that killed his third base last game happen again. That defense was probably a 10 seconds difference of realizing it was coming, sniping the Warp Prism, or putting more units in better position, and he probably wouldn't have lost that third.
By the way, Terminator earlier asking chat is asking what's up with the show me the money thing. If you don't know, guys, it's a cheat code you can use to get additional resources.
Yeah, in StarCraft.
Yeah, I was kind of hoping by making that like a donation goal name it would work, but so far the cheat codes don't seem to be applying to real life just yet.
Yeah. Are you excited about the co-op announcement that's happening at Gamescom?
New commander?
Yeah.
I'm like so. Because here's the thing, like
keeps tweeting hints about it.
I'm totally maxed out on my commander levels on North America, and I'm almost maxed out on Korea. So it's like, a new commander is going to be really fun to level, and then once I'm done leveling, it's just going to be boring again. Like, I really wish they would introduce some sort of prestige system where you could, like, reset your levels and start all over, because it kind of sucks if you're maxed out and you're just like, well, there's no point doing bonus objectives, there's no point, like, really doing the mutations if I'm not getting anything for it. Sense of challenge, I guess, and that's about it.
This is such a, not quite a first world problem, but it's like, I feel that's actually a StarCraft problem, so I see a bit of harassment here and a bit of an attack at the front, but I want to say that I feel like it's a bit of a StarCraft problem, to be honest. StarCraft has a lot of these capped things, like the experience, not that anyone really pays attention to experience anyways, to be honest, but people just get capped on co-op commanders and experience and everything pretty quickly, and then the non-multiplayer guys feel a little left out.
So one of the, I'll talk about this after. There's some really big points on that, but oracles get picked off immediately. Force fields are okay. Overcharges and cannons dealing a ton of damage to the Hydralisks. MaNa doesn't have a lot of army to fight with though. The Stalkers, I'm not sure about this choice for a warp in.
It's not good. Actually, this is probably just game over. There were some important things to talk about. That Warp Prism was unable to really detect what was actually happening, because how could it? Snute cut drones at 58. He got a 4th base, but didn't actually drone it. And he didn't even bother making any banelings or baneling nets. Like, this is actually very bare bones and a very interesting way of kind of, like, not quite all-inning, but being very aggressive without Protos's, like, easy way of scouting it.
Did I just get an achievement without a notification or something? There's a weird noise that just played from StarCraft. Well,
maybe.
Anyways, yeah, the Warp Prism was so concerned with, like, staying on the edge of the base, like, it never saw what the army type was. It saw a couple of Hydras with the Zealots, and that, I mean...
there's an extreme assumption for Snute, but a regular assumption for PvZ that if they get to drone 3 bases, they're going to drone a 4th base, and they're going to be defensive. Maybe there's a Ling Baneling attack on your 3rd, but you can handle that with good Sin City. I mean, it's basic Lings and basic Hydras. Who expects that?
Credit goes to these Colossus, by the way. They're keeping MaNa from being dead just yet, but he's still, like, not in a very good spot at all. I was gonna say, though, that might just be, I wonder for Snute, whether it was intentional or not, it still ended up being like a kind of a mind game with this base. And now that the Observer comes over to scout it, there are drones mining on it, so it looks like really deceptive as what happened here.
Yeah, I think this is absolutely, I mean, it's kind of, it's
Two
it's
Colossus,
tricky,
by
right?
the way.
Well, I love the idea of the Colossus. I'm a little sad we didn't get to see the fruit of that labor, but it was a cool path MaNa was trying to get to. But it was a cooler attack by Snute. Snute, who's expected to be that guy, goes up to 80 drones, instead gets no upgrades and not much of an economy, and just attacks way before Storm would have been done, way before his Colossus were ready.
Oh, I didn't have GatherBot open because no one's been using it lately. I think Terminator just bombed us on GatherBot though. Let me just go check real quick. Also, I don't know what that notification sound was. Oh, because the French guys invited me to a party during that game. I was like, what was that sound? But yo, Terminator did throw a bomb our way. $50. My man. Everyone, Tasia claps and hearts for Terminator in chat. He also gives everyone 5 robs because he's an agent of chaos, so congratulations, go steal everyone else's shit now. Says, look under your chairs, you got some robs, and you get some robs. Everybody gets robs.
Wow.
What, you went full Oprah on this, dude? Alright, so if you guys don't know how rob works, it allows you to steal an item from another person's inventory. You don't get to pick what that item is, it's at random. I will give you some advice really quick. Most people choose to rob me on the regular. My inventory is not that full. At this point, it's not even trying to be like mind gamey so that you don't steal. I actually just have nothing. So rob whoever you want. Feel free to rob me. I'm just letting you know there are people at play here who have significantly better and more items than I do. I don't get to play because everyone just bullies poor Rifkin.
And I never play, so don't even bother trying with me.
But anyways, 5 robs a piece thanks to that generosity from Terminator. Thank you very much, dude. I'll have to go manually update the thing below because that's just from Twitch alerts. But we got Mech Depot, and I have an intro for it and some commentary on co-op once we get into the game. But
well, you could probably do the commentary now. Snute needed 2 minutes.
oh, that works out fine then. I was gonna say, I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about it still, because I don't remember the details of the NDA and I don't want to get sued by Blizzard. So let me just say that there's stuff at last year's summit that was discussed for co-op that I was very much looking forward to. Like, I was more hyped for some of these proposed suggestions for co-op than I was anything else I've ever seen in StarCraft 2 so far. And they haven't come through, and I don't know if they've been canceled and we didn't have a StarCraft 2 summit this year yet, asterisk, but I would love to know because that would revive co-op for me in a big way. But I'll talk more about that in a moment. Let's hop into Mech Depot. See you guys in game. Alright, welcome back. Game number 4 here for the winner's bracket. Keep in mind, as we've mentioned before, it is a double elimination, so nobody's quite out of this, even if they lose here. But he is on the verge of losing. We'll see if he can bring it back. In the top right, it's MaNa.
In the bottom left, as the red Zerg, it is Liquid Snute.
Anyways, some of the stuff they talked about for co-op, like I said, we can't really discuss because I don't know if we're allowed to, but I'm someone who was probably one of the more passionate people about co-op, and I'm not trying to say I'm the best. Okay, that's not what I'm saying here, right? I didn't love co-op more than you loved co-op, but I was very passionate about it for whichever one person took offense to that statement, right? And I played it every day. I played it off stream. I played it on stream. I couldn't wait to do the weekly mutation challenges with Zombie Grub every week. And then they became repetitive or not challenging or too, like, it sucks because you level up, you max out, and you've got nothing to work towards other than just beating it for the sake of beating it. And that's a big part of why well, hang on.
This is a fake.
It's a fake, yeah. I was gonna say there's no forge back at home. He's hoping Snute will overreact by pulling more drones.
Maybe even canceling the hatchery, but it should be obvious now.
He's gonna cancel these, yeah. So Snute called his bluff, actually. This is a dangerous thing to do, but he calls the bluff, and it works.
There was no reason to cancel the hatchery with so much still left to go, unless you literally saw a
more
cannon.
drones, or like you just I think players would easily overreact to that situation.
Okay, actually, I want you to finish your point about co-op before I like talk about why that was really questionable, MaNa, in my opinion.
Oh, well, I'll cap off here really quick, where it's like, I want to play more co-op again, and a new commander is a small band-aid, not a fix to my problems with co-op, I guess.
Yeah, agreed. The things I did talk about the summit were actually way cooler, and even I would have been excited about that. But when I would talk about the fake here is that he trapped his probe in there, so at least a cannon would go down. You know, he'd cancel one and then let himself out, and then he'd continue with the cannon on the very far left side. If it really was a cannon rush and that was really his plan, Snute would cancel his hatchery and then still have an exit path, which is why that makes me a little confused. Like, unless MaNa put down a lot of cannons, they would be off mostly to the left side. I guess he could have put them off to the right side, but then risk being surrounded. So I don't know. You expect those cannon rushes to either happen just totally out of sight. So I guess kudos first for Snute to even recognize something was happening, and it happened someplace a little bit trickier, I suppose. But it was a fake entirely anyway. And that's also another question I have about why a fake? Why 50 minerals and then a full pylon dead to do that? And it must have been just to really pull a lot of drones. And I would have loved to have actually seen it, just so because we literally have a tool now that 2 years ago we did not. Whenever we had these questions of like, well, did that really be worth it? 150 minerals compared to blah blah blah, and we actually have an income graph that would have told us. So darn.
I mean, actually, you look at the income graph though, right? And it is such like a, I don't know, minor. I feel like that really didn't have any bearing in terms of like MaNa was still ahead for a while, and that's just due to Chrono Boost, and then Snoot's going to be spiking up when drones come through, the larva injects. Like, I don't know. I feel like what happened in the early game was such a negligible thing. It's hard to say whether it was worth, quote unquote, the value, even though technically I guess it wasn't.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we won't know about what could have happened for a supreme drone pool economy-wise until it does happen. But if it really didn't affect MaNa to even fake it, then more power to him.
Yeah, exactly. The stasis trap, by the way, was off by like 2 grid points, by the way. So yes, it would have caught a lot of drones, ideally, and did force a drone pull of a pretty large magnitude, but it barely caught any of the larvae and only stalls out one of the eggs. So not too effective. The fact, though, that drone pull, you guys want to see what we're talking about? If this is like extrapolating, early on, if Snute had done a similar thing, you would have seen the same spike, but over here in the early game where it's way more dangerous.
Yeah. The forage coming down here, not accompanied by a Twilight Council so far, makes me like a little suspicious. Speaking of the early game, I guess. But a third base is already about halfway done for MaNa. Snute's comfortably at 56 drones and going for a Baneling Nest and an upgrade this time. I mean, that last build that he did was such a tricky build, I think, to scout for a Protoss player. They'd have to be looking at like the Ling upgrade, but you don't always Ling upgrade, even in a macro game. Like the first game that Snute played today, you get like delayed upgrades. He would have had to look for like literally a Baneling Nest on the field, which would have been hard to look for. And he would have had to literally be like kind of counting mineral line drones, which I think is the last form of scouting when it comes to like mid to late game scouting.
Yeah, people always say about StarCraft 2 players being good at poker. Really what they're good at is card counting, because they're used to drone counting, right? Like,
Yeah,
glance at the
like
base and eyeball, you have to know it's 18 versus 11 type thing. Like,
yeah, exactly. Well, it's certainly something that you are taught, I think, at an early stage of learning StarCraft, to look at the natural drones, SCVs, whatever. But then you hear these pro gamers, and they're like, well, he's on 3 bases, but I counted like he actually had 2 guys out of gas in the main, so I knew he's going to all in, and you're just like, okay. Like, I just would have assumed the guy was bad. Like, forgot to put his guys back in. Yeah, that's safe stuff.
So I feel like depending on who said that too, I would react very differently. Like if MaNa told me that, I'd be like, oh, that's interesting. If Arsum told me that, I'd be like, dude, quit showing off. Nobody cares. Like,
no, I forget. It wasn't a drone. It wasn't a gas mining thing, but someone did mention that like I counted like 6 less drones something in his natural mineral line, and I was just like, okay. Yeah, I can kind of see when they don't have any drones, you know? Like, I can count 0 drones compared to 16. But I don't know anything about between.
It'd be hard to count Terrans, dude, because they're going to have mules everywhere on gas, on minerals. You won't know how many SUVs
Oh, man.
there are.
I think there was some guy that said he knew there was a hidden base because every time he checked the mineral lines, there were no mules. And that also was something that just, like, blew my mind. I was like, why are you looking that hard?
That one's actually not so surprising to me, though, because I've been hearing that since, like, I don't know, heck, I even started playing the game. People are like, yeah, if bases don't have mules, then it's, like, hella suspicious.
But you have to be checking almost every single base consistently, and that's, I think, where a lot of, like, mid-tier players aren't going to be harassing enough to see that.
That's fair enough.
Yeah. It's, yeah. Anyways, enough about the cool things that pros do. So, Snute is up to now 72 drones with the typical set of production plus 2 Hydra upgrades. And MaNa is on the way to a 4th base. But this time, we might get to see what Colossus can really do. Before Mutas pop out.
Maybe get to see what Colossus can do.
Yeah, the Mutas are really not that high in number.
There's no anti-air, though.
There's no anti-air, and he just warped into death.
He did warp into this, but he also warped in Tempo to make an Archon with. Unfortunately, though, the Mutas drive off everything, so now forced to probably cancel that 4th. Phoenix gets taken out. Oh, yikes.
Yeah. I mean, this is... Luckily for MaNa, Snute has... Even when mass mutas were really popular, I feel like MaNa still wasn't really that type of player. So I don't think he's going to be the one to go for, oh, hey, these mutas are working, let's go mass muta, like maybe True would be, or maybe even Rogue, I think, did it once. Luckily for MaNa, it is just the surprise mutas dealing damage, and then he doesn't really have to worry about them anymore. Now it's back to worrying about the ground army.
And this is where I want to see this Colossus shine. I mean, these had no buffer. They had almost no support, no upgrades. And the Colossus did pretty freaking well on his way out last game. I think having a couple of them paired up with a real army this time could be really, really cool. But right now, those Banelings actually end up wrecking... Oh, God, the probes. The Nexus is going to die after all. MaNa's army feels so much smaller than the supply says it is. But a lot of that has to do with, like, the Colossus.
He definitely needs more buffer with his Colossus. Luckily, Lings, even if they do grab to Colossus, don't do too much damage, so they survive that. But there is a large concave of Hydras gunning for him. Desperately trying to warp him, but I think it's a production issue right now.
The micro on the Colossus is actually pretty good. I'm really liking this. 21 kills on 1 of the Archons, 13 on the Colossus. Like, these guys actually did work.
Yeah. I think MaNa, he just had it on 2 more gateways. Yeah, it was a production issue. I'm pretty sure 3 bases, you should have 8 gateways. I don't know about the Colossus production, maybe like affects that or something, but yeah, he definitely was banking a lot of minerals and was desperately warping in to protect those Colossus. He managed just to let him survive.
Well, you know, you're talking about production with this different type of production problem now, too, though. It's a couple of Archons, and Snoot's gone back into investing in mutas. Not just in terms of upgrades, but a significant more amount of mutas. And before he was able to handle this, because, you know, Snoot had like 5 or 6, and it was a cannon and stalkers. Now there's going to be a lot, and Colossus certainly don't shoot up.
No, they do not. I said Snoot's not really the type of guy to see a mass mid opportunity and gun for it, but there is a wide scope for opportunity, and he is trying to make it work.
Yeah, he sees the opportunity through a counter, and I think that's what's the beauty here of his choice. Not because, like, oh, this is a good strat objectively or not, but this is good against what specifically MaNa is doing.
Yeah.
God,
I think
a lot of
if
mutas.
Snoot had just gone back into the ground army, there would be a serious tug of war that MaNa could definitely still survive. And, you know, Snoot might still end up losing this game, even after taking out the 4th base. But the mutas feel like a really good call. Something that is making MaNa go for the typical Protoss, kind of just like, well, can't deal with this, I guess I gotta all in. If he's gonna do that, though, I think he needs to make a lot more cannons.
Oh, the Bentley still managed to slip through, and they actually get to the Colossus. A lot of damage done. GG's get thrown down, and Snute will take this series 3-1. Very, very nicely done, and well executed out of Snute.
Right, yeah. I mean, I'm glad MaNa took 1 game and then showed us a macro game for the last one. But it is as I guess we predicted. Snute taking the series.
It's a shame because I really wanted to see, like, I really love the idea of where the Colossus are going. It just wasn't enough, frankly.
Yeah, he keeps tripping on his way there. So it's really hard to make them look as useful as they should be.
Well, I suppose we'll have to go hunt down our next match, guys. We're going to go to a commercial break while we do, so sit tight. When we get back, hopefully we'll know what we're casting. We'll see you guys soon.